She played the saint on Instagram while drugging my disabled sister. I audited her entire life and publicly ruined her at her favorite country club. Some men come home to a warm embrace and the smell of a home-cooked meal. I came home to my 24-year-old sister choking on her own saliva on the entryway floor, while my wife stood over her, sipping a glass of expensive red wine like she was watching a mildly boring television show. Let us get one thing straight. My name is Paul. I am 38 years old, and I dismantle failing companies for a living. I read contracts, I spot the hidden clauses, and I cut out the financial cancer before it kills the business. I am paid to be cold, logical, and entirely unsentimental. But at home, I was a blind idiot. We lived in a massive 5-bedroom home in Naperville, Illinois, a neighborhood where people pay $500,000 just to pretend their lives are perfect. I thought mine was. My sister Sarah has lived with us for 3 years, ever since a horrific car crash took our parents and left her with severe neurological damage that causes sudden, violent seizures. She needs constant care, a quiet environment, and a strict medication schedule. I took her in because she is my blood, and I promised my mother on her deathbed that I would protect her. Then I married Kate. Kate was a saint on social media. She constantly posted photos of herself holding Sarah's hand, with captions like, "Family is everything," and "Caregiving is a work of heart." Our friends constantly told me how lucky I was to have found a woman willing to take on such a massive burden. I believed them. I believed her. But a bad deal never collapses with a loud bang. It rots from the inside, quietly, while you were looking at the glossy brochures. It was a late Thursday night in June. I was supposed to be in Seattle for another 4 days, closing a multi-million-dollar tech merger, but the client folded early, signed the paperwork, and I caught the 9 o'clock flight back to O'Hare. I did not call ahead. I wanted to surprise them. I unlocked the front door at precisely midnight. The house was dead silent, except for the low hum of the air conditioning. I stepped into the foyer, set my leather briefcase down, and immediately felt my foot slip on something wet and cold. I looked down. Sarah was on the floor. Her body was twisted, her bare legs bent awkwardly under her, and her face was a terrifying shade of blue-gray. She was convulsing weakly, a thick froth forming at the corner of her mouth. Kate was standing at the bottom of the stairs, wearing her silk pajamas. She did not have her shoes on. She was holding a half-empty glass of red wine, her eyes glassy, her expression entirely blank. "She is having one of her dramatic episodes," Kate said, her voice dripping with pure annoyance. "She has been screaming all evening. I gave her some medication to quiet her down." "Stop looking at me like that, Paul. She is just doing this for attention." My heart stopped, then hammered against my ribs like a trapped beast. "She is not breathing, Kate," I roared, dropping to my knees. I cleared Sarah's airway, rolled her onto her side, and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so violently I misdialed twice before finally getting through to emergency services. "You are overreacting as usual," Kate muttered, turning around and walking back up the stairs. "I have a luncheon tomorrow with the club. I do not need this drama." The ambulance arrived in less than 10 minutes. The red and blue lights painted our pristine white walls in frantic, flashing patterns. 2 paramedics rushed through the door with a stretcher. The lead paramedic, a burly man with graying hair named Miller, froze the second he walked into the hallway. He looked at Sarah, then at Kate, who had wandered back downstairs to watch, and then he looked directly at me. I saw his face change. It was the exact look an auditor gets when they find a second set of books. He worked quickly, administering oxygen and hooking Sarah up to a monitor. His partner called out vital signs that made my stomach turn. Then, while they were loading Sarah onto the gurney, Miller pulled me into the kitchen, shutting the door half-closed behind him. "Are you normally out of town, sir?" Miller asked, his voice low and deadly serious. "Yes," I said, blinking. "I travel 3 weeks out of every month for my job. Why?" Miller rubbed the back of his neck, checking the door before speaking. "I responded to a call at this exact address 4 weeks ago, late May. Your sister was in the exact same state, deeply comatose from what looked like a massive overdose of heavy sedatives. The woman out there, Kate, told us she was the guardian. She said you were unreachable in Europe, and that Sarah has a history of trying to end her own life by stealing medication. She told us not to contact you, because it would ruin your business trip." The air completely left my lungs. What? "We filed a report with Adult Protective Services," Miller said, looking me straight in the eyes. "But the case was closed because your wife provided medical documentation showing Sarah was severely mentally unstable and prone to self-harm. Sir, if you did not know about this, you need to look at what is happening in this house when you are gone." I rode in the ambulance with Sarah. Kate said she would get dressed and drive over later, but she never showed up. Sitting in that sterile hospital room at 2 in the morning, listening to the rhythmic, agonizing beep of Sarah's heart monitor, I did what I do best. I audited. I opened my laptop and logged into our joint bank accounts, our medical insurance portal, and the home security system that I had foolishly left Kate to manage. Line by line, my marriage rewrote itself in the cold blue light of the screen. First, the insurance. There were dozens of claims for heavy, liquid-form sedatives, phenobarbital and high-dose benzodiazepines. They were not prescribed by Sarah's actual neurologist, Dr. Aris. They were filled at a shady walk-in clinic 30 miles away in Aurora. Then, the travel matching. I pulled up my corporate travel calendar and overlaid it with the prescription refills and the bank statements. Every single time I left the state, Kate filled a high-dose sedative prescription. Within 24 hours of my departure, our bank accounts showed massive charges at high-end caterers, liquor stores, and luxury boutique shops. The home security logs were even worse. Kate had disabled the hallway cameras during my trips, but the driveway camera remained active. Every Friday night I was gone. Dozens of luxury cars lined our driveway. Kate was hosting lavish, alcohol-fueled parties for her high society friends, using my money to fund her social climbing. And Sarah? Sarah was drugged into a vegetative state and locked in her bedroom at the back of the house, so she would not ruin Kate's perfect, glittering image. The anger did not hit me like a wave. It was more like a slow, freezing lake. I did not scream, and I did not text Kate. In my world, if you show your hand early, the target destroys the evidence. You do not strike until the trap is completely shut. At 6 a.m, I called my lead attorney, Arthur Vance. He is a shark who handles our multi-million-dollar corporate litigation, but he knows everyone in DuPage County. Arthur, I said, my voice empty of any warmth. I need the most aggressive family and criminal lawyer in the state, and I need them in my hotel room in 2 hours. By 8, I was sitting across from a woman named Eleanor Vance, Arthur's sister, who looked like she ate dishonest spouses for breakfast. I laid out the folders. Here are my travel records, I said, sliding the papers across the table. Here are the medical insurance claims for sedatives. Here are the bank statements showing she spent $40,000 of my money on parties during those exact dates. And here is the contact info for the paramedic who responded to the first overdose that I was never told about. Eleanor reviewed the documents, her eyes narrowing. This is not just a divorce, Paul. This is criminal neglect, adult abuse, and financial exploitation of a disabled dependent. The state takes this incredibly seriously. I do not want her just divorced, I said, leaning forward. I want her utterly destroyed. I want her to lose her standing, her friends, her freedom, and every single cent she thought she was going to extort from me. Eleanor smiled. It was a terrifying, beautiful sight. We are going to file for an emergency protective order to bar her from the house immediately. I will coordinate with Adult Protective Services and the Naperville Police. They will issue an arrest warrant for felony abuse of a vulnerable adult. When? I asked. By noon today, she said. Where will she be? I smiled. I know exactly where she will be. At 10 a.m, Sarah finally opened her eyes. She looked incredibly weak, her pale skin contrasting with the white hospital sheets. But she was conscious. When she saw me sitting in the chair beside her, a tear slipped down her cheek. Paul, she whispered, her voice cracked and dry. I am here, Sarah. I am right here. I took her hand. It felt as light as a bird's wing. You are safe, I promise you. She looked toward the door, terror instantly flickering in her eyes. Is she coming? No, I said firmly. She is never coming near you again. But Sarah, I need you to tell me what happened. Why did she give you that medicine? Sarah swallowed hard, looking down at her blanket. Every time you go away, she gets angry. She says I am a parasite. She says having me in the house ruins her life because she has to pretend to care. So she makes me drink this sweet juice. It tastes bitter at the end. She told me if I did not drink it, she would put me in a state asylum where they lock people in dark rooms. Paul, I was so scared. When I drink it, my brain goes dark. I cannot move my legs. I can hear people laughing downstairs, music playing, but I cannot even scream. My chest felt like it was being squeezed by a heavy hydraulic press. I had brought this monster into our home. I had paid for the very house where my sister was tortured. You did nothing wrong, Sarah, I said, my voice shaking with a cold, absolute rage. I'm going to fix this, every single bit of it. Every Friday at 1 p.m, Kate had her weekly ritual. She and her group of wealthy, gossip-obsessed friends met at Hugo's Frog Bar on Main Street. It was the premier spot in Naperville to see and be seen. Kate loved it because she got to play the martyr. She would sit at the center table, sipping Chardonnay, and tell everyone how exhausted she was from giving her entire life to care for her husband's disabled sister. I knew this because she had sent me a text at noon. Still at the hospital with Sarah. She is stable but needs rest. I am stepping out for a quick lunch to clear my head. Love you." A complete pathological lie. She was not at the hospital. She had never even checked in at the front desk. I did not reply. Instead, I sat in my SUV across the street from Hugo's, watching the entrance. At precisely 1:15, a white Naperville police cruiser pulled up to the curb. 2 officers got out, followed by a woman in a sharp business suit, the investigator from Adult Protective Services. I watched them walk through the heavy glass doors of the restaurant. Inside Hugo's, the lunch rush was in full swing. The dining room was packed with local business owners, wealthy housewives, and community leaders. Kate was sitting at a large round table near the center of the room, surrounded by 5 of her closest friends. She was laughing, her hands gesturing dramatically as she spoke. The officers did not hesitate. They walked straight to her table. The chatter in the restaurant began to die down, table by table, like a wave of silence washing over the room. "Kate Wood?" the male officer asked, his voice echoing in the sudden quiet. Kate blinked, her smile freezing. "Yes? Can I help you?"
If this is about a parking ticket.
"Ma'am, you are under arrest for felony abuse of a vulnerable adult, chemical endangerment, and insurance fraud," the officer said clearly. The gasps from the surrounding tables were audible. Kate's face went completely, utterly white. "This is a mistake!" she shrieked, her voice cracking as she tried to stand up. "My husband is a major director at Hartwell. We are prominent members of this community. You cannot do this." "Hands behind your back, ma'am," the officer said, pulling out a pair of silver handcuffs. "No! Paul! Where is Paul?" she screamed, looking around the room frantically. Her friends were shrinking back in their chairs, pulling their designer purses away from her as if she were radioactive. None of them spoke. None of them defended her. The metal cuffs clicked shut around her wrists. The officers led her out of the restaurant in front of 80 people she spent her entire life trying to impress. She was sobbing, her makeup smearing, her cream-colored blazer wrinkling as she was guided into the back of the police cruiser. I watched the cruiser drive away from my spot across the street. I did not feel happy. I did not feel relieved. I just felt the cold, hard satisfaction of a contract successfully terminated. By 3 in the afternoon, I was back at the house with a professional locksmith. Every lock on every door was replaced. I sat at the kitchen island with my laptop and systematically went through our life, cutting her out like a malignant tumor. I canceled her credit cards. I removed her from my health insurance. I filed the emergency divorce petition, citing criminal abuse, which automatically froze all joint assets until the court hearing, leaving her with absolutely nothing to pay for a high-priced defense attorney. I removed her name from our home security system, the HOA registry, and our bank accounts. By 5 in the afternoon, she was completely erased from my life. Her clothes were packed into black garbage bags and stacked in the garage. I did not want a single trace of her perfume left in my home. I brought Sarah home at 6. The house was quiet, but it was a clean, peaceful kind of quiet. The air felt lighter, as if a heavy fog had finally drifted away. I helped Sarah into the living room, propping her up on the couch with a pile of soft blankets. She looked around the room, her eyes wide, as if she could not believe she was actually allowed to be there. "She is really gone?" Sarah whispered. "She is never coming back," I said, sitting on the edge of the coffee table. "This is your house, Sarah. You are safe here. No more sweet juice, no more locked doors." She let out a long, shedding breath, and for the first time in years, I saw her shoulders completely relax. "Can we get pizza?" she asked quietly. "Lumulnadas deep dish?" I smiled. "Yes."
With extra cheese. We sat on the living room floor and ate pizza straight from the box, watching a documentary about the ocean. Sarah fell asleep halfway through, her head resting safely against my knee, breathing deeply and easily. I looked down at her and felt a heavy weight lift from my chest. Kate had thought she was playing a clever game. She thought she could use my absence and my sister's vulnerability to build her perfect, fraudulent life. But she forgot one simple rule of business. When you try to scam the auditor, you lose everything. And this deal was officially closed.